Okay, welcome everybody. We have a special presentation today where we're talking about recently the Health Department of Minnesota has asked funeral homes to close for quarantine. And so we're going to talk to our friendly neighborhood funeral director, Ashley, about that. Ashley, welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello, everybody. I am Ashley Czaplewski, and I am a funeral director down here in southeastern Minnesota at Hoff Funeral and Cremation Service. I'm actually in Winona.
Ashley, we have a couple of questions for you. The first is, what does the state shutdown mean for funeral homes? And what if my loved one dies during quarantine?
What the state shutdown means is that your local funeral director is still there to help you out during this time. Just in a different capacity than what we can typically do. We are still available to bring your loved one back into our care and to work with your family over the phone, an email, FaceTime, a Zoom meeting, however it may work, to make some of those decisions for the time being, and take care of your loved one and still take care of you.
Can our loved ones be buried or cremated during quarantine?
Yes, both can still happen. We can go ahead with cremation and still allow for the legal next of kin to come in and ID the loved one before cremation. And then we could plan something for the rest of the family once the current shutdown restrictions have been lifted. And yes, embalming and burial still could happen. Your loved one could be embalmed and held in the care of your local funeral home until you could all gather at the gravesite or have a funeral.
So does this mean no funerals at all for people that die during this time, or can funerals be postponed until after the quarantine is lifted?
Yes, that means during this time, we cannot hold a funeral right now. That does not mean your loved one cannot still have a service. It would just have to be postponed until the current requirements are lifted and we can gather again. We could have some very immediate family gatherings at the cemetery, the funeral home, your church, depending on their requirements, to have some type of a service. And then once all of the recommendations have been lifted, we could have, a public gathering again. And it is still so hugely important to have that public gathering and that gathering for all your friends and community when we can do that again. Just because your loved one dies during this time does not mean that you can't have a funeral at all, and you should still have a funeral, even if it has to be postponed. Your loved one still lived a wonderful life, and that life still needs to be remembered and celebrated, even if it is down the road a little ways.
Well, that answers my next question, I think. Do you think funerals are important? Should we just be skipping funerals right now, or is it still important to plan a funeral for after quarantine is lifted?
We should absolutely still be planning a funeral for after quarantine is lifted. In no way should any funeral be skipped just because of when your loved one would pass away. And your local funeral director will help you in all of that planning to make it happen for you.
Okay, and then how is your funeral home adapting to help families deal with their grief during this time?
We're really doing everything we can to kind of talk them through it. And I think one of the most important things people can do right now is to reach out to someone when a death occurs and share the stories of that person and just talk about that person and help keep their memory alive. That will help people through their grief a bit. But there are many local clinics that are offering telehealth services as well. So reach out to your local clinic. Your funeral director could help you get in contact with those places too, to get some counseling in the meantime. And then Children's Grief Connection, the camp that was supposed to be this coming weekend, is currently postponed until the middle of May. That's another great resource. Children's Grief Connection is a great resource, whether the camp, is available in May or not.
Yeah, you can always email us and we'll find you some resources. Registration is currently open for Hearts of Hope Family Grief Camp for spring 2020. And you can find all that information online, obviously. We'll have a link below to all of our stuff. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for helping go over these questions that people are going to have. And thank you for serving the families of your community. I'm sure they appreciate it.
I was just going to say, you're very welcome. I'm honored to be here. And if you have any further questions, please reach out to anyone at Children's Grief Connection, and also your local funeral director and funeral home. They'll be able to answer your questions as well. Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.